The Delusion of Narcissism. Hi, I'm Anne-Margaret with this week's Sacred Sunday message to raise the vibration of your body, mind, and spirit. Thanks for joining me. So, a healthy ego is absolutely essential for us to be successful in life, to find happiness, to navigate our life according to our standards, to our way. And it can also be absolutely detrimental if we allow that ego to take over. If we allow that ego to drive the bus of our life, every single time it'll drive it right off the cliff. It'll do things to us, to our relationships. It'll control and have us act out in ways that really destroy the co-creative energy between us and others. And societally, right now, we are seeing massive narcissism. And this is deluding so many into thinking in a very self destructive way, and also creating delusional belief systems that are working against us. So, we have a lot to examine today. We're going to look at this narcissist archetype within every single one of us, and how, if we don't acknowledge it and if we don't know how to tame it or recognize its signs, that it can come and wreak a lot of havoc that we don't want in our lives, that can rob us of our own peace, our peace of mind, peace about our choices, a peace about others, and an ultimate peace about this incarnation, just being human, having this human experience. So thank you so much for joining me today. It's a very charged talk. I know I'm going to touch on some really heated topics, some hot button issues, but I think it's really valuable to talk about this so that we can be engaged in an open discourse, because that kind of conversational exchange right now is very challenging for so many because of what we're talking about today. So there is a quote, Robert Caron, and he said, "One of the premier diagnoses of our times, narcissism, is a reflection not only of an apparent trend in mental illness, but also of strains and distortions in the lives of essentially healthy people." So what he's saying is, like, we're having a lot of trends right now that are acceptable trends that we're not questioning within ourselves, and we're not questioning collectively. We're just accepting that this is our new normal, our new way of operating, whether it be bullying behind the screen through social media, whether it be attempting to invalidate somebody's experience and not taking them at their word, but projecting what we think about them or what we think about their position or their experience as our own. And it is a very narcissistic time. But what's really wonderful about this as well is that there's always a good and always a bad, right? So there's always that light attribute of the archetype that that the narcissist has, but also we're looking at a lot of the shadow aspects today too. The light attribute of the ego is it's your way of seeing the world. It's your way of recognizing that the narcissistic tendency is that the world revolves around you. So make sure that you're being the sun. Make sure that you are being your own light. Make sure you're operating from integrity. Recognize your own individual impact on the world. That is the light attribute of that narcissist archetype. But narcissism in its negative form, or its shadow aspect, is self-absorption. It's egocentric or egoism, and it's a delusion where we project that our reality is the ultimate reality, that our reality we project onto another. And this is where we get trapped every single time. So the real reality of being human, news break, news flash, is that we will never get everyone on the same page. Never. We're never going to. We have had, through our history, religious wars, people not getting on the same page about God, people having just the slightest differentiation under Christianity, where they're killing each other because they believe that Jesus is the Son of God, but it's not exactly this way, it's that way, and justifying religious wars. We have political wars. We have wars in our own families. We have wars in our offices, our workplaces. We have even wars in our own mind. And Gandhi said it best, be the change you want to see in the world. We need to shift the war in our mind, make peace with our own selves, and then we will see that in the world around us. The world won't magically change and become this kumbaya utopia where everybody's getting along, but we will change. We will change, and the way that we see the world will change. That is the secret, guys. That is the secret. Because what we're seeing right now, we're seeing medical wars, aren't we? We're seeing this battle between who's right, this scientist, this doctor, this virologist, or that one. Who do you believe? This is history repeating ourselves, but now is the time where we can catch it, we can recognize it within ourselves, and then we can be different in this moment in time. Okay, so what are the signs that we're trapped in that narcissistic tendency? Sometimes it's difficult and we think, oh, we see it in other people, we don't realize it in ourselves. If we're feeling that anger when people don't agree with us, we're feeling like when they behave or they believe differently, we have a desire to invalidate them with our perspective or our opinion or our belief system. This is normal, guys. It's an okay trap. We all get into it. Not one of us is void of it, all right? So this is not to shame yourself, but to awaken an awareness of when you're doing it and it really not being effective, okay? It's when we take this egoic stance that is really kept alive by seemingly our gathering of seemingly irrefutable facts, where we're like, no, this is the way it is. This is it. We say this like, this is science. This is it. And then this is very much about non-factual things. We try and gather this irrefutable stance or proof about non-factual things. I'll get into that in a second. Hang tight. I know there's a little bit of a cliffhanger there. In families, make this a personal thing too. We see what's going on in the world today, but it doesn't matter if it doesn't apply to our own lives either, right? So if you're like, I'm cool, whatever, I know what I believe and I'm okay with that. What is not okay in your relationship with maybe a family member, maybe a friend, a neighbor, a coworker? What's going on here? There are two or more sides to the argument, two ways of seeing something, okay? So the question is, you have to ask yourself first and foremost, are you more committed to the ego, to being right? Or are you more committed to being at peace? Being at peace doesn't mean resigning your position. It doesn't mean forfeiting your truth. Being at peace means being at peace, and we'll get into that in a moment. So are you more committed to being right, or are you more committed to being at peace? Let's dive in to the massive argument happening right now. That's really a huge triggering source for a lot of people right now. You know what I'm talking about, right? To V or not to V? That is the question. Okay, I love Shakespeare. Couldn't help it. Sorry, bad joke. We're seeing people have their livelihood threatened, their business segregating people now based on this. We are seeing people saying, we just need to get 80 or 90% of the people on the same page, and then we can get beyond this. There are a lot of different ways of looking at this, and there are also some very real consequences. And people are doing things to their bodies that they don't feel comfortable doing because they feel like it's the courageous thing to do, it's the brave thing to do, it's the right thing to do, it makes sense. And some people are doing it even if it doesn't make sense to them, that they've seen other doctors speaking out, other studies, right? So it's a very heated issue where you've got two sides of the equation. And guess what, guys? I'm not here to tell you what to do, what the right choice or the wrong choice is. That is your personal freedom and your privacy. Under HIPAA and medical freedom, that is your choice. And here's the reality check. If we are going to suspend our peace of mind, whether it be with this, or whether it be in our family, or whether it be in our workplace, for 80 or 90% of people to get on the same page, it's never going to happen. I hate to tell you, but it's never going to happen. We are going to wait a long, long time. And there is a part of every single one of us who wishes that the world saw things the way that we do. Wouldn't it be just so great? Everybody saw things the way that we did. Everyone believed the way that we did. Those of us who chewed on that for a while, we know it would be a very boring place. Okay, we know that the world, the way it was designed, created accidentally or intentionally through divine design, is quite profound, is quite interesting. It makes for a very diverse and enriched experience. But this desire for everybody to be on the same page, whether it be in your family, whether it be with a neighbor, a friend, or whether we see it in the world today with this, 2V or not 2V, it is the greatest trap, and it creates a hell in our mind. It creates a hell in our reality, our individual microcosmic reality. So what do we do with this? Something that's really getting to us is this egoic sense of like, well, who can we trust? We've got science, right? It's science, irrefutable facts, right? Science should be irrefutable. Science changes every day. That's the sad reality of it. That is the dynamic reality of science. Facts are doctored to reflect needed statistics for increasing profitability margins for different industries that profit off of that. So asking questions like that, we need to do that if we're going to be able to tap into how do we trust ourselves. Because at the end, it doesn't matter if we gather all of this evidence over here, we gather all of this evidence over here, we look at everything on the table, everything's on the table. In the end, we must choose. We must choose the purpose of our life. We must choose our partner. We must choose our family. We must choose to accept what we're facing. There are a lot of choices we make, and we cannot make them based on irrefutable facts because we will never find them. We will never get everyone to agree with us. We will never get everyone to say, you know what, that's the right choice, go for it. This individual responsibility, this free will that we've been given, is also such a challenge. It makes everything really hard. The sovereignty that we are the only ones who can make that choice is what makes things so challenging. And when we've got doctors over here, in this particular instance, doctors over here saying, with this medical background, saying, this is what it should be, and this is what you should do. And then we've got these other doctors, equally qualified, different perspectives, saying, no, this is what you should do, and I really do believe that this is the right way. We're like, who do we trust? Like, who do we trust? We're looking at this statistic, but then we'll ignore that one, or we will trust that doctor, but we'll ignore that one. It's confusing. What do you do? Do we trust the doctors on CNN, Fox, CSNBC? You know, some don't trust any of those doctors that we're seeing on TV because these channels are businesses. And those business owners out there, like myself, know that everybody has like the dollar, the money, the profit can really skew like somebody's integrity. So do we trust that? Do we trust the conflict of interest going on? Do we not look and see who's funding by the narratives that are being put out there? Do we trust the government, the federal institutions? Like, you know, do we trust the CDC? Do we trust the WHO? Do we trust our government? Because these agencies are also funded by those who are profiting. So it's so hard, you guys. I know we're in a very challenging time to say, what is the truth? How do we figure out the way to navigate this? What do we do? Do we trust independent doctors? I mean, so many people are out there. There are different options. It's not just one or the other. There is always a third option. There's always other ways to investigate things. But do we trust if they're on the internet? Because if they're on the internet, it's not endorsed by mainstream public TV channels. So, you know, it's a lot to navigate. There's so much that we're having a really hard time with. Even social media communities, like you have groups endorsing one perspective and then the other groups saying, hey, reporting injuries. Who do you trust? I don't know. It's very challenging. But in the end, the reality is that if we don't recognize our individual incentive, other people's individual incentives, we're not going to be able to see clearly. If we don't recognize that we are the ones making the choice, after we weigh everything out there, we're the ones who make the choice in our life, then we're going to blame others. We're going to blame others. and that'll trap us in the victim. So the reality is we got to acknowledge that money's in everything. If we don't know who's profiting off of our actions, off of our belief system, off of our side, we may be missing something crucial that is essential to uncovering the truth. If we're looking at marketing, man, we're inundated with like 4,000 images a day. All right, we are inundated with subconscious images we don't even know we're absorbing every single day. And so the question to ask is this really my belief? Or is it an unconsciously adopted belief that somebody else has given me? At this juncture, I want to say it's so important to remember that we are all doing our best. We are all doing our best. Even as you engage with people in an argumentative way, stop and breathe and remind yourself, they're doing their best. I love the quote, be kind, for you never know what kind of battle the other person is fighting. It's so important for us to remember that we don't know what it's like to be in somebody else's shoes, and nobody knows what it's like to be in ours. Nobody has our own wisdom. Nobody has my wisdom. You have yours. I have mine. Right? So the most challenging thing to do is to stand in your truth. I think a couple things are really valuable to do here. Have a healthy skepticism. Whatever you're trying to do in your life, whether you're trying to decide this or that, or making a turn in your life, maybe it's a career move, maybe it's, what is my truth? Have a healthy skepticism. Sometimes the only thing to do is weigh all the options, look at the data, and then just really be as informed as you can at making your choice. And then the second thing is be at peace with your choice. Be at peace. Now, you don't need to close the door and never listen to anything again, but be at peace with your choice. Own that was your choice, and then make a different one or change your mind. We all have that right, okay? So the reality is that we are seeing people left and right attacking one another for their choices in the world. But that is our free will. That's our sovereignty. Any one of us would not be very happy if others were forcing us to do something that was against our will, that was not in alignment with our values, that was also something that we felt was important, that we wanted to do, all right, because we felt like it was the right thing. All right, both sides of the spectrum here have the free will to choose what they want, okay? And what we're seeing is the desire, the very human desire to try and get everyone on the same page. But let's look at this. What are we really talking about? We're talking about people doing things we don't want them to do. And hell exists when you're number one, you're not at peace with your choice. And we've all been there. You ask for forgiveness, you remedy, you apologize, you right the wrong in some way if you can. And then number two is that the way that we create hell in our minds is that we feel unstable unless others have also made or validated our choice, made the same choice, believe what we believe. And we have to remember that it's an egoic desire for us to want everyone to be on the same page. It's normal, but it's impossible. The reality of living life is that we have diversity of thought, we have diversity of belief, and we have diversity of action. And it's so ironic, we're celebrating diversity of skin color, of gender, of all of these different ways of being in the world. But where is the honoring of our sovereignty, of our diversity of thought, our diversity of our belief, our diversity of our actions? You can't have one without the other. It's there's a lot of hypocrisy in there. It has to be freedom for all, standing for the sovereignty, the dignity of all, or not. It's what you're choosing. What if, the other question I want to ask here today is, what if we truly sought to understand one another? Not from arrogance, like, oh, I'm just trying to understand you, but really from humility, because we only have our one perspective, guys. Think about how many people there are in the world. We only have our one perspective. I seek out people who disagree with me, look and listen to them. What is their stance? Why might they think that way? I don't do that because I'm a good person. I do it because I want to learn. I do it for my own self-interest, to be as informed as possible, to see as many sides of all of your wisdom out there as possible. What if we did that? What if we did that in our relationships? What if we sought to understand our partner rather than getting our husband, our wife, our friend, our spouse, our neighbor to just see our perspective. It's a huge paradigm shift, a huge one. So our conclusion, like, we've got to make our own decisions. We've got to be clear about why we're making it. We have to have peace of mind, like, with our choices and feeling good about them without having other people affirm it. Okay? Let it go. Let it go with the affirmation. And then narcissism enters the picture when we expect others to do, act, or think like we do. Our reality is that there is always more than one way to see something. Always more than one way to see or to interpret how something is unfolding. That is what is real. That's what must be accepted for peace to enter the picture. And the macrocosmic views is there's more than one way to see that disagreement you're having with your family member or your friend. If we have an egocentric goal, it's to be understood. It's to disregard the other person's sovereignty. They don't know what they're talking about. They're crazy. They're stupid. You know, we label them in all sorts of demeaning and dismissive terminology. But in order to be aligned with a healthy ego, we need to accept that reality, that this human experience is diverse. Everyone has their own truth. You can disagree with it. That's your truth. An unhealthy ego is judging others, condemnation, blame, self-victimization. You know, and a trap here is this parasitic and narcissistic desire disguised as a need. It's a desire disguised as a need. I need you to be this way so I'm okay. I need you to not do this so I know you're safe. I need you to do this so I know that you and us are safe. It's a narcissistic desire disguised as a need. Think about your own relationship. You need them to be this way. Do you? Do you really need them to be that way so you're okay? Or can you shift? Can you learn how to fulfill that need, that desire? Can you find more acceptance in your own heart? Because remember, guys, this is important to remember. You cannot force anything and have it go well. You cannot force anything and have it go well. You take away somebody's freedom, it's not going to go well. If you try and force your partner to do something that they don't want to do, force anyone in this world to do something that they do not want to do and they don't feel is right, not just I don't want to, but they feel is against their moral compass, that they feel is not in alignment with who they are and their own truth, it's not going to go well, guys. Sovereignty is real. We have to remember sovereignty is real. We are not better than anyone else. My truth is no more supreme to your truth than your truth is supreme to mine. We must remember that when we handle one another. So you don't know what their wisdom is. We don't know what it's like to be in their shoes. If we use those checkpoints for ourselves, things will change. We'll find more peace. And our desire to force things come from that shadow part of the narcissist archetype. And it's within every one of us. It's always there. What are we going to choose? What are we going to choose? So instead, stand in your truth. Have courage. Be like a beacon of light without any need for others affirming you. Without any need to defend your position when others are attacking you. Use their words. Use their challenge to deepen your understanding of why you chose what you chose or who you are. Let it be like the fire to help transform you into more of a purified soul. Welcome the challenge, but don't feel that you need to defend for those who are seeking just to attack you. Waste of time and energy, guys. I won't do it. Don't do it. Listen to others, and you might see things as something different for you. You're going to benefit. Or weigh it and say, you know what, that doesn't really feel accurate. And then you can let it go. And when you're offering something for somebody else, remember to lay it at their feet. Don't shove it down their throat. Don't come from an arrogant, I know all perspective. They're never going to listen. Lay it at their feet. Let them chew on it. If they have an issue with it, let them have an issue with it. Lay it at their feet. It's their choice whether they pick it up or not. That's so important. It is so normal. Last thing I'll tell you is so normal to have an egoic desire for everyone to be on the same page. It's normal, but it's impossible. That is unrealistic. And the sooner we accept that, we will be at peace. We'll be able to discourse with one another in an effective manner. And most importantly, we will be allowing of each other's diversity, sovereignty, free will, free thought, free belief. Wouldn't you want that? Wouldn't you want the same if the roles were reversed? So be kind and remember that you never know what somebody else's shoes are like. You never know what somebody else has experienced, what their wisdom is like, their unique perspective. Seek to understand, not to be understood. Thanks so much for joining me, and remember, until next time, have courage, be brave, stand in your truth, and honor that same thing in others. Keep raising the vibration. All right, bye everybody.